We're going to spend a lot of time in freestyle during the camp, and there's a good reason. There are more options, more techniques in freestyle than any other stroke. You need to know at least 2, and some of you 3 techniques. The 3 techniques are hip-driven, shoulder-driven, and hybrid freestyle. Let's start with hip-driven. Hip-driven freestyle is the slowest stroke rate, the slowest turnover of all 3 freestyles. Why do we use it? First of all, we use that technique for recovery, for warming up and warming down, because we're not going to exert as much energy doing it that way. But we can also make that stroke go pretty fast in a 400 or up if we use it correctly.
For a hip-driven freestyle, we're gonna be nice and long out front. Get out onto that hip, and then as we switch to the other side, we're gonna finish out back by that back hip.
So you're trying to get as much pull out of that hand as you can, all the way back and then out hard at the end. Now let's talk about shoulder-driven. Shoulder-driven is what most of the women of the world are going to use. And in the sprints, we've got 2 sprinters over here in the Masters. If you're not using shoulder-driven freestyle in the 50, you're not going to win. So when do we use shoulder-driven? In the 50. A lot of you in the 100, and some of you in the 200 and up will continue using shoulder-driven, especially the women, all the way through to the 1500 or beyond.
In hip-driven freestyle, you think of your hand more as a paddle, and in shoulder-driven freestyle, it's gonna be more of a propeller. It's gonna be more of an up-tempo kind of stroke.
You're gonna start that catch right away. There's no pushing out the front. You don't have time for that. It's about RPM, it's about stroke rate, getting that propeller going. Shoulder-driven freestyle, we don't really focus on the shoulder. What we do is we use our arm recovery as the way of getting the shoulder rotation. It's the only buy one, get one free in the sport of swim. Now let's talk about the hybrid. The hybrid is interesting because it's kind of a combination of both strokes. In the hybrid freestyle, we breathe to one side only, and in that breath, when we come down harder and faster with the recovering arm on the breath side. Once we come down on that side, we push it out the front, just like we do in hip-driven freestyle. And then when the other hand comes around, we get right into the catch. So we have one hand that's acting like a shoulder-driven freestyle, and the other hand acting like a hip-driven freestyle. And what do you see from above? You see ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. An asymmetrical stroke rate. On your breath side, you got to come down faster and harder on the recovery. That's what causes the surge. That's what makes this a great middle distance technique. It's not a sprint technique. You can use it on the 200 or the 100 rather, all the way up to the 1500.
Boom, pop, boom, pop. That's better.
We have to dive underwater, and in getting under that wave is one of the key things that make this stroke more efficient. You're also going to have to learn how to drive your body with that kick.
Let's go ahead and use fins and snorkels here.
In our upcoming series on the 3 styles of freestyle, we'll show you some of the important drills we use to teach the hybrid freestyle technique.
Really aggressive hands into the water.
As well as the shoulder-driven and hip-driven freestyle. So we're actually delaying the left hand right here at the top.
3, 2, 1, flip. Full 50.
In the end, we want you to know how and when to use the different freestyle techniques. At the end of the day, we're going to be able to say, okay, you're going to need to use this technique in this event, because we're going to know which one works the best for you.